Hey, good morning, everyone. I'd like y'all to welcome y'all to the upcoming 8th grade coffee, because your students are moving up to next year in 8th grade. Let me pray for us, and then Ms. Cedric will get us started this morning. Dear Lord, thank you this morning. Thank you for the opportunity you give us. Thank you for blessing us to be able to come to a great place like Wesley and be able to talk about you openly and spread your word to everyone. Watch over these students as they finish up this semester, as times get a little tougher here for exams. Calm their nerves, guide them, and bless them as they move forward. Thank you for everything you do for us, our family, and our friends. In your great name we pray. Amen.
Yeah. All right, so we are talking about 8th grade, which is the capstone year of middle school. It's so fun. We're super excited to get to know the 7th grade class as they come up and lead them, usher them through this. There's a lot of unique events in the 8th grade year that don't happen in the other middle school years. We've got semi-formal that just happened a couple of weeks ago. People say it's the best dance on campus, the most fun night. Some of you, who's had an 8th grader already come through this? Okay, would they say it's one of the better events on campus? It's awesome. We have things like 8th grade chapel, which is the graduation for 8th grade. There's a reception also that follows that, that's just for 8th graders. It's very special. There's sneak peek that they get to do where they go and experience some high school courses. That happens in the fall. So there's all these signature events that happen in the 8th grade year that are a lot of fun, that build a lot of spirit, a lot of unity in the class, and make the 8th grade the capstone year and really set it apart from the other years.
Libby and myself, I'm Lee Ryder, by the way. I don't know if you already introduced yourself.
I didn't.
I'm Lee Ryder. I'm the 8th grade boys chair. This is my 7th year here at Wesleyan and 7th year as the 8th grade boys chair. 19th overall teaching, which I can't believe I've been doing this for 19 years. Just a little bit about my background. I was a public school, high school teacher for 12 years, and now middle school for 7. And I love this place. This is a great place. 8th grade is an awesome year. We see them grow a lot. I ask you to do this. Take a picture of them this summer. All right, I'm dead serious. Take a picture of them at the beginning of the summer, and then take a picture at the last day of 8th grade. And you're going to see a huge change in your future 8th grader. They're going to grow so much in that 1 year. I see it every year from that summer till when they get out of 8th grade. Huge change. So take a picture. I'm telling you. You'll be amazed how much they change in this year.
And I'm Libby Sedgwick. This is, I think, my 11th year at Wesleyan. I had a previous life at Wesleyan from 1996 to 2005 when I taught in the high school and was a grade chair before children and marriage and all those things. Then we moved to Chattanooga and Miami and some other places for a while. Came back 3 years ago and joined the middle school for the first time. I'd always taught in the high school. And this is my 2nd year serving as the 8th grade girls chair. Although I did that in the high school for 9th and 10th grade for many years. So 8th grade's a lot of fun, and it is this special transition year as we prepare them for high school. So, yeah.
3 big things that we work on the 8th grade year that me and Libby have really concentrated on since we teamed up is leadership. There's lots of opportunities, and we'll go more in depth here. There's lots of opportunities in the 8th grade year for them to really step up. Not only are they the 8th grade, they're kind of in the center of everything that goes on in the middle school, but there's other opportunities. We work on study strategies because 8th grade year really ramps up, especially you parents that have had 8th grade before, you know it ramps up because we're prepping them for high school and trying to get them ready. So we really work on study strategies to help them, A, manage their time, B, realize how to put things in importance first. All right, not that having fun is number 1. It can be number 2. It's okay. And time management. All right, just learning because in 8th grade year, a lot of them are involved in many different things with fine arts, drama, sports, extracurricular stuff. They're all over the place in 8th grade. So we really try to manage their time, and we try to help them with tutorials, study halls, things like that. We do a lot of teaching them, we have, in our flex times, we get the 8th graders together, we talk about that kind of stuff because we try to give them a leg up before they cross over to the high school as freshmen. To really give them that advantage so they're not walking in like deer in headlights with their eyes wide open like, oh my gosh, what is this? We prep them during the 8th grade year. And a lot of freshmen, or upcoming freshmen, don't get that, where we do that here for 8th graders. We prep them so they have an idea as freshmen, when they enter as freshmen, what's going on in the high school.
A few, just going into the leadership opportunities, we tell the 8th graders that they are just the physical leaders of the middle school all the time, even though they may not realize it. In the hallways, when we're in Powell Theater for assemblies, when we're in chapel, they're front and center, they sit in the middle, all the kids look up to them, even the little 5th graders are watching, and so they are setting the example. So every single one of them is a leader every day in the cafeteria everywhere. But then we also talk about some specific ways to be leaders. Obviously student council, but on sports teams and in the drama department and productions, often the 8th graders are leading the charge. And then we talk to them about thinking of new ways to lead, that they can propose things. If there's something about the middle school they want to change, they should talk to us about it, make a meeting with Mr. A, say, hey, we really want to do this, or we want to try to do this, and think about taking initiative and implementing new things. And every year we have some 8th graders who implement new things. We had a class that did a bake sale to raise money for the mission trips. They just come up with ideas and then they create them and make them happen. And it's just a great learning lesson to have an idea, ask for permission, go to the proper people, make it happen, execute all of those things. So we try to encourage them to do those types of things. They also often start speaking in chapel. We have 8th graders every year who want to speak in chapel second semester, and they will give a devotion or read a scripture or do different things. And then at 8th grade chapel, the 8th graders lead the entire thing. They give the devotions, they give the benediction, they give the announcements, they do the whole thing. And so there's all of these opportunities woven throughout the year for them to lead. And it's not always being a verbal leader or a big loud leader in the front. There's ways to lead quietly. So if you have a quiet 8th grader, there's still many, many leadership opportunities just in their presence, in their being, in the way that they act. So we will be talking about that, but there's lots of ways to lead, and it doesn't mean that you're loud. There's other ways to lead well.
Second thing, we really stress on them about embracing responsibility. As 8th graders, they get several special privileges that 5th, 6th, and 7th don't get. Like for lunch, they get to eat outside. They get to dismiss themselves. They don't have to sit here and wait until their lunch is done and the teacher comes and says, all right, it's time to go, clean your table. They have to do that on their own. And we give them that responsibility because we want them to learn to take it, because if they don't take care of clean up after themselves when they dismiss themselves, then they don't get to dismiss themselves and have a longer break. They have a shorter break, which they don't like that. They love to have that longer break. You'd be amazed when they find out they get to dismiss themselves. So come in here, eat as fast as possible, or try just to get a piece of fruit and then get out of here, which we won't let them. We tell them they have to eat something. Ice cream doesn't count. To sit down and eat, and then they dismiss themselves because they like having that extra free time to be kids. So they learn that responsibility of dismissing themselves, cleaning up their area. Same thing with the outside, get to go outside, because we don't go and say, all right, it's time to go. They do it themselves. So that was one responsibility. Also, there's chances as 8th graders to play up on junior varsity teams. So that's a huge responsibility for them to learn to, now, hey, I've got to step up a little bit and play with some older kids. There's many opportunities where your son or daughter may get asked to play up, okay? Also attending a lot of high school events in the spring. We do a lot of transition stuff in the spring. With all you former parents that have had 8th graders come through, our spring is very busy on transition stuff. And they have to take responsibility of opening up their emails, reading that email and understanding, oh, I've got a meeting today with somebody that's important, okay? Or I just got an email from Miss Sedgwick that says, I need a response. I've got to give her a response. So Police Help is there to teach them when they get something on email to read it, okay? Because a lot of times it's just kind of like, okay, I'll come back to that. And they never come back to it. And we're needing some kind of response, either from somebody from the high school or from one of us that's on an important event. So please teach them to read it and respond, okay? Because you know and I know a lot of emails go through Wesley daily. You probably get a lot of emails daily. And so with them, it's just teaching them the responsibility of reading and reacting.
There's also academic responsibility. If they're struggling in a class, we really encourage them to go talk to the teacher, try to work it out, or if there's a discipline issue, if they get a detention and they want to talk about it, to talk to the teacher, and if they need help or support, to get us to come with them. We can go together to talk to the teacher, and then if they're unable to solve it by themselves or with our help, then you can involve your parents, but try to handle problems yourself first. It's hard to imagine, but in a few years, they will be off to college, and they're not going to be able to call you and have you help them solve problems. So to start developing those skills when they still have all of this support to help them talk through, go say this, I think, here's some things you can say. So we coach them up and we try to prepare them, but try to have them do it themselves. Another great technique is to send them to the teacher, but then send an email saying, I'm sending Jane to come talk to you about her test grade or whatever. So to give the teacher the heads up that they're coming, and that way teacher knows that they should be coming to talk, and we can make sure that that loop is closed, that they do what they're supposed to do. But learning how to communicate and use your voice to solve problems is a life skill. It's not just an 8th grade thing, it's a high school thing, it's a college thing, it's a business thing, it's a career thing. And so we want them to learn how to use their own voice and get talk and try to solve problems with support. And we'll go with them and help them. But a lot of times after we coach them up and say, this is what you need to do, they go and handle it, and it works great.
Will they still have the office hours in the morning and the
Yes, that has
tutorial?
worked beautifully.
All that's
That's a great time. The other thing we
Yes.
talk about is what is a good time to ask the teacher this question in class. When she or he has a whole classroom of students, that's not a good time, but office hours right after tutorial, the one-on-one time is the appropriate time to ask this question about the test question or this or that or work out something. So timing is important, so we talk about that too and coach them up in that way, okay? Finally, a really important thing for 8th grade is refining those study skills and strategies. A lot of 8th graders will hit an academic wall at some point during the year for the first time. The math courses are more advanced. They start seeing new material. Algebra is a really abstract math, and it's different than just straight arithmetic. And so sometimes the math, a lot of times MCL will cause some issues. Science has a math component, and that can give students trouble. So sometimes they'll see some low grades that they haven't seen before, and that is actually a great learning opportunity. Instead of freaking out, to figure out, okay, what part of that test was difficult for me? We talk about analyzing. Once you get the low grade, the grade is done. Don't worry about the grade, but what you need to know is why you made those errors. Was it a studying issue or a test-taking issue? So sometimes they studied well, but they misread questions, they left things blank. It's a test-taking issue. They knew the material but didn't take the test well. And other times it's studying. I completely forgot to study this, or I thought I knew this concept, but then when I got into the test, I couldn't remember how to solve it, or I didn't know which formula to use for which problem, or whatever. So sometimes it's a studying issue, sometimes it's a test-taking issue. So we're teaching them to analyze those test results, not worry about the numbers anymore, but really find out why you're making these errors so that you can fix that going forward. All 8th graders have exams in those core courses, so they will see that material again. And so if it's a studying issue and you didn't master that material, then we need to go back and master that material. So we'll spend a lot of time on coaching them up on how to tweak their studying to be more effective. Usually students do not need to spend more time studying, they need to use more effective strategies. So low-level strategies are looking at the material and saying, oh yeah, I looked at it for 30 minutes. That's a very low-level strategy and is often ineffective. So flashcards, we talk about gapping the material. You look at it, then you walk away, you go do something else, and then you try to recall it from not looking at it at all. If you've just looked at the material and then you quiz yourself or someone quizzes you, that's pretty low level because you're only retaining it for 4 minutes, okay? But if you walk away, shoot some hoops, do some push-ups, then, or you study, you prepare, you study in tutorial, but then quiz yourself when you get home without re-looking at the material, that's a much higher level strategy. So we will get into some serious science about study strategies and make sure that those strategies are effective, they're working for each student, they're in place before moving them to high school. So that's one of our big goals.
And also, I want to harp on what she was saying earlier about if you mess something up on a test, and I want to go back to study hall and tutorial and office hours. If they mess something up on a test and they want to figure out the office hours is the best time because it is one-on-one time. Tutorial is not a great time to go in and try to figure out what I did wrong with the test because the teacher's going to have double-digit kids in that room that day. And it's hard to go through with a teacher and try to get what you need. So I encourage, if your student struggles on a test and needs some help, get in here for office hours or schedule an appointment where maybe they can stay after school one day with that teacher so they can get that one-on-one because that one-on-one time is so much more beneficial than trying to get 1 or 2 questions answered maybe in that tutorial. Because there's other people going on, and plus their friends will be in there, so they're not going to be as engaged as you would like for them to be engaged, even though they're saying they're engaged. All right, get them there for that office hours or schedule a time to see their teacher. I really want to stress that because we've had students do that now. This second semester, they really struggled first semester, and they're exploding with just unbelievable greatness in the classroom because they're using the office hours to benefit them, to find out, all right, I don't understand why I kept missing this. I don't get it. And they finally came in on office hours. We've been trying to sell it. They bought in, and now they're in office hours all the time. And they're great.
So tutorial is a group setting. It's a great space to ask 1 or 2 direct questions. You know, I didn't solve this right, or I had the wrong answer. Where's my error? But it's not a time to reteach. There's too many students. Everyone has a question. So it's a 1 or 2 question type of situation or asking a friend a question. But if there's a reteach needed or some sort of personal analysis of your test, the office hours is the better time for that, or a special appointment, okay? In office hours, students need to reach out via email to the teacher to confirm they will be there. Most middle school teachers have at least 1 meeting in the morning during a week. For instance, the student council representatives meet, I think it's Thursday mornings with their kiddos, or it's not Thursday actually, it's Tuesday mornings. And then there's Bible study or whatever. So make sure if your student is coming in for office hours that they've connected with the teacher saying, I'm coming, is this a good day? And if it's not, they'll say, oh, I have Bible study that morning, can you come Wednesday instead of Thursday? So teachers try to be available at least 4 out of 5 days, but sometimes there's a one-off meeting.
And our teachers do a good job too. Our 8th grade teachers also using our lunch break also.
I can always find some one-on-one time.
Yeah, they do a great job of finding one-on-one time for that week for your student.
Okay, so we have
Go ahead.
some final tips. A big thing for 8th grade is trying to have your student in class. These are 50-minute classes. A lot of content is covered in every class. And so be very strategic about those orthodontist appointments and those doctor's appointments and those things that you're doing a lot. Try to put them in the tutorial space or that Wednesday morning space, or strategically put it around not one of the 5 core courses, because we found that students who miss class have a hard time recovering from that. Obviously, if they're sick, please keep them home. But if it's like, oh, I just, might have a headache, personal health day, it actually is more stressful to miss class than it is to come, okay? So if they're just a little off, try to get them here, and be cautious about taking family trips and missing class when everyone else is in school. Try to keep those to be planned when no one's in school, because those students come back and they're really stressed trying to make up 5 50-minute core courses that they've missed, sometimes multiple days, and some of them just have a hard time ever recovering from it. They just feel like they don't know that content that was taught those days as well as their peers, because they weren't here. And there's some benefit to some of the discussions and the questions and all those things that happen that you can't recreate. And so they don't sometimes feel like they have the mastery that the other students do. So really prioritize class time and be strategic with those frequent appointments like the orthodontist.
Also, you know when you're going to have some planned absences. Make sure that you contact Rich Billing. He's the one that does all that. He's the one that tells us what it is and is it excused, unexcused. Also, discuss whether to use your 2 discretionary days. Remember, you get those 2 days from Mr. Billing to use, so it doesn't count against your student. But also look at the calendar. And see if there's anything important going on that day of a test or a quiz. If the test and the quiz is not going on that day, you may just want to just take an unexcused absence that day. Something to discuss if you look to have to use those 2 discretionary days for other things, if your kids are involved in activities that are outside of school that require them to miss multiple days. It's worth looking at the calendar to see, all right, I want to use this day as a discretionary day, or I'll take this as an excused day.
And usually your student will know whether they want to use it as discretionary, excused or unexcused. And so once Mr. Billing hears from you, he can give them the green sheet that then they take to teachers and get a sense of what they will be missing. Also, the test calendar is a great way to review that. Sometimes there's talk about the 8th grade year not counting among the students. They like to say that. And what we talked to them about a couple of times in the fall semester is that the high school honors recommendations for their 5 core courses are made in February of the 8th grade year. So the first semester and the beginning of second semester are the grades and the behaviors that are being looked at or evaluated. We can always reevaluate at the end of the year, but for the most part, 95% of those recommendations are made in February of second semester. So they've already been done for the 8th graders. So we'll have some students, often boys, but girls too, that think, oh, I'm going to turn it on second semester and then I'm really going to get serious and then I'll start participating in class and coming prepared and ready to go. And just encourage them to do their best work the whole year. And that's what we will be doing, is encouraging them from the beginning, be attentive, do your best work, classroom focus. It's not just grades, there's a participation piece. Again, you don't have to be loud, you can be quiet, but you have to be attentive and engaged and a part of the class. So if you're looking at your screen and occasionally gaming on the side, then that is not an effective classroom strategy. Teachers know that. So we're trying to coach them up and have them attentive and doing their best work from the beginning.
Libby, are those recommendations for freshman year, you were saying, just what classes they would?
So it's the 5 core courses, so English, math, MCL, science, and history, and they're for 9th grade. And the 8th grade teachers, in conjunction with the department chairs from the high school, will look at their various things. So we'll go through with the students what is being looked at for the different classes, the different rubrics that are used, but it's a combination of grades, classroom classroom focus and participation. For math and science, they pull some standardized tests. So it's a complicated picture. We'll talk much more about it in the fall, probably.
Just as a reminder, what I said earlier, remember Wesleyan communicates a lot through email. Just once again, just encourage your students to make sure they're going through their emails. Also, you'll be getting a lot of emails as 8th grade parents through our parent rep. You're going to have a lot of events as 8th grade parents, especially with coffees, because you'll be meeting all the high school important people. So make sure, I know you get a lot, and I have to do the same thing because we get a lot to read all the way through, and make sure you're looking to see what's going on in advance, because you're going to get a lot of information in 8th grade. Because you'll meet the high school principal, the dean, the honors teachers, you'll meet the counselors. You're going to meet everybody that's going to help you have your son or daughter be successful through high school next year, especially second semester. So just be aware. Read through those emails. You're going to be getting a lot, and also your students too. Encourage them to go through it all.
Another thing we talk about with 8th grade students is that multitasking is not effective. And so a lot of students will try to multitask with social media and email, texting, whatever, Snapchat, all these different things while they're doing their homework. And that is a low-level strategy. We will talk about that. If they are saying their homework took an hour, it's taking so long, then say, okay, is your phone in the room with you? So that's the first question. And then was there any emailing, any other thing going on? And 95% of the time that is happening. If it's truly not happening and they were focused the whole time, then they need to communicate with their teacher and say, that assignment took me however many minutes. And the teacher will hopefully hear from more than one child and they can make some adjustments. But often students are trying to multitask, or I was watching this TV show while I was doing this, and the strategies aren't as effective. And so that's the first question, is finding out, were you trying to multitask? Okay, that doesn't work for adults, it doesn't work for children particularly, it really doesn't work for anyone. So when you're studying, come up with your family strategy. We're going to leave the phones in the other room for a 20-minute concentrated session or a 30-minute concentrated session. Then as a little break, you can come out and check and yada yada. But then you'll have a sense of how much time you're doing these other activities. A lot of times the time goes away. Where does it go? I don't know. They're looking at things and communicating and laughing and stuff, and it's fun, but then that makes homework take 2 to 3 hours, which could have actually taken 45 minutes.
Correct. And especially in the fall with our young men, it's fantasy football season, and they will work on their fantasy football more than they will their classwork. The only reason I know this is because my office is on the hallway. They forget I'm there. I'm like a fly on the wall, and they are talking fantasy football. Seriously though, if you think your students are on the internet at home a lot, IT, you're allowed to go up to the IT department and ask them, hey, can you give me just a report of what my kid's doing on the internet? And they'll give it to you. And you'll see, and I've encouraged parents to do that, it's like, I know it's not Johnny's fault. It's going on in the classroom. It's got to be the teacher's. Well, go check IT for me. And they did, and they figured out, in an 8-hour school day, Johnny was on the internet for 6 hours doing some fantasy football. So you tell me the math there, fantasy football and classwork, you're not getting it done. So if you have any questions of what's going on, ask IT. They'll be glad to help you so you can see.
You can run that report. And then you're getting those reports, those analytic reports that you can read and see sort of where the time is being spent. And that can be eye-opening. And
also, if you know that their homework doesn't require the internet, just look on their tablet. If that little icon for their internet is lit up, that means they got it in the background. So as soon as you walk by and you're gone, bam, they can hit it right back up. So tell them, hey, I know that icon's on, turn it off. You're not supposed to be on the internet anyways right now. It's math homework. There's no internet for math tonight, all right?
Maybe I'm being naive, but you're telling me this is happening in the classroom, people are on the internet?
it can happen.
Is there not a way for you to for IT to say, hey, we've got kids playing fantasy football in the middle of class?
Well, they're not playing fantasy football. They're getting on ESPN and just reading headlines and things like that.
We're researching.
They're researching.
So a lot of classrooms do have blocking.
You're not playing fancy.
She plays tennis.
A lot of classrooms will have blocking plans in place, but then a lot of classrooms use various internet applications during class.
Yep.
And so they'll switch between screens, you know. And students, the teachers will, we can dine in them, we can see their screens, but of
Yeah.
course we're at the front of the classroom a lot, not watching their screens. And so, but we'll catch them periodically on the wrong screen. And so, you know, it's an issue. The final point for the final tips is just stay engaged with your 8th grader. Try to eat dinner together and talk about what's happening at school. Make sure that you're looking at their social media stuff. You're still paying the bills. You should have access to their phone. They should know that. We've had some trouble every year with students thinking that what they're doing on their phones or other devices is private and somehow just between them and other people. That's never the case. It never will be the case. We've seen that play out in the news. Professional athletes and different people are being, you know, their social media is being examined. People have lost scholarships and job opportunities and all sorts of things for this. And our students just have a hard time understanding that this personal conversation I'm having over email is not at all personal, and at any point anyone can look at it. And so, particularly on the school tablets, that is absolutely not private. We tell them that a lot, but they still kind of get in their mind that it might be, but it's not. So one way you can help them get that is to say, hey, I'm going to look at your phone periodically. So if there's something you wouldn't want me to see, you shouldn't be doing it, okay? And also, hopefully, have some conversations about high standards for kindness, that we just won't tolerate as a family unkindness to other people. And as a school, we talk about it all the time, but we're not on their social media. We don't have access to their phones, and we're not hearing them on the Xbox and what they're saying to their friends. So help be the ears and eyes, help train them up, help us, partner with us, and really emphasize that we're kind to everyone. If you have a thought that's unkind, don't share it. Nobody needs to hear that. Think of something else that you like about that person and focus on that instead of this one thing that's irritating you. And if you're having a problem with someone, work it out through kind words, okay? We're not gonna lash out or whatever. So let's all coach them up together. But we're parenting around social media and things that we didn't have when we were that age, and so we're always trying to catch up to them because they're ahead of us, and it's hard, it's really hard. So let's work together and really try to help them stay safe, help them stay kind, keep a positive environment. And if you're having issues with them or you're hearing about problems, report it to us so we can do something about it and try to help, you know, bring kindness back. If people are being mean to your child and you think this is happening, encourage them to come in and talk to us and try to get to the bottom of it. We don't know what's happening unless the kids or you talk to us, because we're not on the social media. We're not looking at their phones. We don't have access to those. Okay, so let's work together and try to create a really warm, foster a, you know, engaged, warm, kind community. That was Mr. A's big push this year, kindness to ourselves and kindness to others. We've talked about it a lot as a middle school, but middle school has a tendency to spiral out of control with unkindness, and so help us to talk about it over the dinner table and at home and in the car, how important it is.
We got a couple announcements here. Summer camp registration is open. Know that all sports camps are for middle schoolers. There's also art, science, coding, robotics camps for middle schoolers. Also, there is, it's offered twice, is a study skills boot camp, which is a good brush up for students if they need a little extra help with study skills. They do a great job in that boot camp, and like I said, it's offered twice during the summer. So if your student needs that, I would go on and register for that. because we've had students that took that last summer. It really helped them to start out this year. Also, aftercare is available for students in grades 5 through 8. Middle school students will go to the library until 4. If they don't have an after-school activity, high school students will be in charge of them up there in the library, kind of watching over, also helping, assisting them with homework if they have questions. And then they'll go over to the lower school, and they can be there until 6:30. The purpose of this change is twofold. First, we want to add value for those students who don't have a full afternoon school schedule. Second, to also ensure the safety, because a lot of times we find students that just would sit around and we didn't know what they were doing, and they'd be hiding around. And so we're just trying to ensure safety for them and have a place for them to go. And so you know where they are at all times also, because we're just trying to keep everybody safe in one spot.
Mr. A sent out this course descriptions for 8th grade digitally last week, maybe the week before, I can't remember now, those weeks are blurring together, but the only change from last year is that students can now take 2D and 3D art in the same year, their semester courses. All of the other course selections, nothing else has changed, so review this with your student, and really you're just choosing electives, but review the descriptions, help them to make a choice, and you will be registering.
Do they register themselves or do we do it on our block?
You do it, that's a good question.
It's through y'all this time. Next year's 8th grade, they will do it on their own. It's with y'all this time.
So 9th grade to do, they start.
9th grade does it here at school, so we just did it yesterday,
So for our block.
2 days.
2 days ago.
Yep.
Yes, I think through your Blackbaud account.
Yes, it's 3 years, and then next year when they register for high school, they'll start doing it on their own.
Registration closes Friday, May 3rd. Okay, so in your email. Yes.
I may have missed this. In addition to the grade tiers, what's the particular subjects do y'all teach?
I teach 8th grade Bible.
And I make their
PD.
But I don't have any, right? But there's no,
I don't get all of them, I
you don't
get.
get, who's the other one?
Well,
Coach Frazier.
no, he's
Okay.
back. I don't know who's going to be in there.
Okay, I can remember.
And I teach most people, but Mr. Billing has one course.
Can you remind me what the gender separate classes are? No.
There's none in 8th grade.
No math,
No
no
math,
English.
first time during the.
No.
There's 4 different math courses in 8th grade, and so they would be too small.
Everything's fine.
Yes.
Wow, so we're not, you're not here.
What's that?
You're not here.
Problem, I have most 8th graders, but Mr. Billing does.
Val Huckabee and Aubrey Lexi, system of the middle school office. Val Huckabee and Aubrey Lexi.
Any other questions? All right, well, we are heading to chapel.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, just know we're here for you, and if you got any questions, feel free to email us.
Thank you.